Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stepped through the airlock of mining station Omega-7. The asteroid belt assignment wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough to support his sister's medical treatments back on Earth. 3 months into his 6-month contract, he'd settled into a routine that kept him sane in the vast emptiness of space. The station buzzed with activity, despite being millions of miles from the nearest planet. Miners, engineers, and support staff from dozens of species worked together to extract precious metals from the floating rocks. It was one of the few places in the galaxy where humans weren't treated as the newest kids on the cosmic block. "Another productive day, Mr. Chen?" The voice belonged to Zira, his assigned domestic assistant. She stood barely 5 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the artificial lights. Her species, the Veltar, were known throughout the galaxy as exceptional service providers. Their government had contracts with mining consortiums to provide domestic staff for long-term operations. Same as always. "Zira, just trying to make quota." Marcus hung his helmet on the designated hook and began removing his environmental suit. The Veltar watched him with those large, dark eyes that seemed to hold depths he couldn't fathom. "I have prepared your evening meal according to human nutritional requirements," she said in her melodic voice. "And I've completed the weekly cleaning cycle for your quarters." Marcus nodded his thanks. Zira had been assigned to him when he arrived, part of the standard package for solo miners. At first he'd felt uncomfortable having someone wait on him, but she'd quickly proven invaluable. She maintained his living space, prepared his meals, and even helped him with equipment maintenance when needed. What struck him most was her dedication. While other Veltar on the station performed their duties competently, Zira seemed to anticipate his needs before he knew them himself. She'd noticed his preference for coffee over tea within days, adjusted the temperature in his quarters without being asked, and even learned to prepare Earth-style comfort foods when he seemed homesick. "You don't have to do everything. You know," Marcus said as they walked toward his quarters. "I'm capable of taking care of myself." Zira's expression remained neutral, but he caught something flickering in her eyes. "It is my purpose to ensure your comfort and efficiency, Mr. Chen. Your success reflects upon my service record." Marcus had heard similar explanations from other Veltar, but something about Zira's tone always seemed rehearsed. He'd tried to engage her in casual conversation many times, asking about her homeworld or her interests, but she consistently redirected the discussion back to his needs or work matters. Their quarters were located in the residential section of the station, a series of cramped but functional living spaces. Marcus's unit included a bedroom, small sitting area, kitchenette, and private bathroom. Luxury by mining station standards, though it would barely qualify as a studio apartment on Earth. The meal Zira had prepared smelled incredible. She'd somehow managed to recreate his grandmother's beef stew, using the limited ingredients available on the station. The meat was synthetic and the vegetables came from the hydroponic gardens, but the taste transported him back to childhood dinners in Ohio. "This is amazing," Marcus said between bites. "How did you manage to get the flavor so perfect?" "I have been studying human culinary traditions," Zira replied, standing at attention near the kitchenette. "Your grandmother's recipes were mentioned in your personal files." Marcus paused mid-chew. "My personal files don't include family recipes." For just a moment, Zira's composed expression cracked. Her eyes widened slightly and her hands clenched at her sides. I meant to say I researched traditional Earth comfort foods." Many humans speak fondly of their grandmother's cooking. The explanation made sense, but Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. He'd worked with artificial intelligence systems that could analyze behavioral patterns and make educated guesses about preferences, but Zira's accuracy went beyond statistical probability. "Zira, how long have you been working on mining stations?" "This is my first assignment outside the Veltar home system," she answered quickly. Too quickly. Marcus set down his spoon and really looked at her. The Veltar were humanoid in basic structure, but their physiology differed in subtle ways. Their skin had a natural luminescence that shifted with their emotional state, though most humans didn't know enough about their biology to read the signs. Right now, Zira's skin seemed dimmer than usual and there was a slight tremor in her hands. "Are you feeling all right? You seem nervous." "I am functioning within normal parameters," Zira said, but her skin flickered with what Marcus was beginning to suspect might be anxiety. "That's not what I asked." Marcus stood and moved closer to her. "I asked if you're feeling all right." The question seemed to surprise her. Most humans, Marcus realized, probably didn't think to ask their domestic assistants about their emotional well-being. But something about Zira had always struck him as more than just a service provider. She had quirks and preferences that seemed too individual for someone supposedly following standard protocols. "I am adequate," Zira said finally. "Thank you for your concern, Mr. Chen." Marcus wanted to push further, but something in her posture warned him off. Instead, he returned to his meal, though his mind raced with questions. Why would Zira know details about his family that weren't in his official files? How had she learned to read his mood so accurately? And why did she sometimes look at him with an expression that seemed almost protective? After dinner, Zira began her evening cleaning routine while Marcus reviewed the next day's mining assignments. He tried to focus on the technical specifications and equipment requirements, but found himself watching her work instead. She moved with an efficiency that spoke of extensive training, but occasionally she would pause and touch objects in his quarters with something approaching reverence. "Zira," Marcus said as she finished organizing his personal items. "Can I ask you something?" She turned to face him, her expression carefully neutral. "Of course, Mr. Chen. Why did you request this assignment?" The question clearly caught her off guard. Her skin flickered through several different hues before settling on a deeper blue than her normal coloring. "I did not request this assignment. The Veltar Domestic Services Bureau assigns personnel based on operational requirements. But surely you had some say in the matter, some choice in where you wanted to work?" Zira was quiet for so long that Marcus began to think she wouldn't answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than usual, almost vulnerable. "Choice is a luxury not all beings possess, Mr. Chen. Some of us must be content with the paths chosen for us." The sadness in her voice hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd always assumed that the Veltar chose their profession, that they enjoyed serving others. The possibility that Zira might be here against her will had never occurred to him. Before he could respond, Zira straightened and resumed her professional demeanor. "Is there anything else you require this evening? Tomorrow's shift begins early." Marcus shook his head, but as Zira prepared to leave for her own quarters, he made a decision that would change everything. "Zira, wait. From now on, I want you to know that you can talk to me about anything, not as your assignment, but as a friend." The offer hung in the air between them, and for a moment Marcus saw something raw and desperate flash across Zira's features. Then it was gone, replaced by her usual composure. "Thank you, Mr. Chen, that is very kind." But as she left his quarters, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that kindness might not be enough to unlock whatever secrets Zira was hiding. The emergency klaxon shattered the peaceful hum of mining station Omega-7 at 347 hours. Marcus jolted awake in his bunk, his trained reflexes already pulling him toward his emergency gear before his mind fully processed what was happening. The red warning lights bathed his quarters in an ominous glow as the station's AI announced the crisis. "All personnel to emergency stations. Hull breach in Sector 7. Immediate evacuation protocols in effect for affected areas." Marcus grabbed his emergency suit and helmet, his heart racing. Sector 7 housed the main power distribution center and several critical life support systems. A breach there could cripple the entire station. As he sealed his suit, his door chimed urgently. "Mr. Chen?" Zira's voice came through the intercom, but something was wrong. Instead of her usual composed tone, she sounded breathless, almost panicked. Marcus activated the door controls and Zira practically fell into his quarters. Her normally pristine uniform was torn and stained with something that looked suspiciously like human blood. Her luminescent skin flickered rapidly between different hues, creating a chaotic light show that hurt to watch. "Zira, what happened? Are you injured?" "Not my blood," she gasped, steadying herself against the wall. "The breach wasn't an accident, Mr. Chen. Someone sabotaged the hull integrity sensors. They wanted to create chaos." Marcus stared at her. "How could you possibly know that? And why are you here instead of at your emergency station?" Zira's eyes darted toward the door, then back to his face. For a moment, she seemed to be fighting an internal battle. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight he'd never heard before. "Because you're in danger." The sabotage was a distraction. There are armed individuals moving through the residential sectors, and they're specifically targeting human personnel. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Armed individuals? Who? Why would anyone target humans specifically? "The Corvani separatist movement," Zira said, and suddenly everything clicked into place. Marcus had heard about the extremist group that believed humans were advancing too quickly in galactic society. They viewed humanity's rapid technological development and growing influence as a threat to established species hierarchies. "How do you know all this?" Marcus demanded. "Zira, you're a domestic service worker. How could you possibly have access to this kind of information?" The question hung between them like a live wire. Zira's skin had settled into a deep purple color that Marcus had never seen before, and her hands were shaking. She looked toward the door again as if calculating escape routes. "Because," she said quietly, "I'm not who you think I am." Before Marcus could respond, the lights in his quarters went out completely. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing everything in a dim red glow. In that brief moment of darkness, Marcus heard movement in the corridor outside his door. Zira moved with lightning speed, pressing herself against the wall beside the doorframe. Her movements were fluid and precise, nothing like the careful, measured steps of a domestic worker. This was combat training, Marcus realized with growing alarm. "Get down," she whispered urgently. "They're here." Marcus dropped behind his desk just as the door exploded inward. 3 figures in combat armor poured into the room, weapons raised. They weren't Corvani, Marcus noticed with confusion. These were humans, but their equipment and tactical movements suggested military training. "Target acquired," one of them announced into his helmet comm. "Marcus Chen, you're coming with us." "I don't think so," Zira said from her position by the door. The lead soldier spun toward her voice, but Zira was already moving. She struck his weapon arm with surgical precision, causing him to drop his rifle. In the same fluid motion, she grabbed his helmet and twisted, using his own momentum to send him crashing into the wall. The second soldier tried to bring his weapon to bear, but Zira had somehow acquired the first man's rifle. She fired once, a precise shot that disabled his suit's power supply and left him stumbling in the dark. The third soldier retreated into the corridor, shouting for backup. Marcus stared in shock as Zira efficiently secured the 2 disabled soldiers. Her movements were those of a trained operative, not a domestic worker. When she turned to face him, her expression was grim. "We need to move. Now." "Zira, what the hell is going on? Who are you really?" "My name is Agent Zira Nalthek of Veltar Intelligence Operations," she said, checking her captured weapon. "I've been assigned to provide protection for high-value human personnel working in contested sectors." Marcus felt the world tilt beneath him. "Protection? High value? I'm a mining engineer." "You're Dr. Marcus Chen, holder of 3 advanced degrees in xenogeology and rare earth extraction," Zira corrected. "Your research on crystalline matrix enhancement has been classified by both human and Veltar governments. The techniques you've developed could revolutionize resource extraction across dozens of systems." The pieces were starting to fall into place, but Marcus's mind struggled to process the implications. "You've been spying on me this entire time?" "I've been protecting you," Zira said firmly. "The Corvani aren't the only ones interested in your work. There are at least 4 different factions that would love to get their hands on your research, and 3 of them aren't particularly concerned about keeping you alive in the process." Marcus sank into his chair, overwhelmed. "My research isn't that revolutionary. It's just improved efficiency algorithms for mineral extraction. Your improved efficiency algorithms could increase rare earth yields by 300% while reducing environmental impact by 90%, Zira explained. "Do you have any idea what that could mean for galactic economics? For species that depend on resource extraction for their survival?" The sound of running footsteps in the corridor cut their conversation short. Zira moved to the door, weapon ready. "The soldiers who attacked us weren't Corvani," Marcus said suddenly. "They were human." Zira nodded grimly. "Mercenaries. Someone hired them to extract you during the chaos. The question is who? And you've known about this threat the whole time. Intel suggested something might happen, but we didn't know when or how. The Corvani attack provided perfect cover for whoever hired those mercenaries." Marcus stood up, his mind racing. "So everything over the past 3 months has been a lie? The meals, the conversations, the way you seem to care about my comfort? For the first time since the attack began." Zira's professional composure cracked. Her skin flickered through several colors before settling on a soft blue that Marcus had never seen before. "No," she said quietly. "That part was real." Before Marcus could process what that meant, more armed figures appeared in the corridor. This time they were definitely Corvani. their distinctive chitinous armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Multiple hostiles approaching, Zira reported, as if speaking to someone Marcus couldn't see. He realized she must have been in communication with her handlers this entire time. Zira, Marcus said urgently, if my research is so valuable, why haven't you just taken it? Why stay here for 3 months pretending to be my maid? She glanced at him over her shoulder, and in her expression he saw something that looked almost like regret. Because the research isn't complete yet, and because... She paused, seeming to struggle with the words. Because my orders were to gain your trust and cooperation, not to steal from you. Your orders? The Veltar government wants to offer you a partnership, Marcus. A real one. But first we had to make sure you were someone worth partnering with. The Corvani soldiers were getting closer, their harsh voices echoing through the corridors. Marcus could hear weapon charges powering up and the distinctive sound of combat armor systems coming online. And what's the verdict? Marcus asked. Zira turned to face him fully, and in her eyes he saw something that went far beyond professional duty. You're worth protecting, she said simply, even if it cost me everything. The first Corvani soldier rounded the corner, weapon raised. Zira fired immediately, her shot precise and devastating. As more soldiers poured into the corridor, she grabbed Marcus's arm. There's something else you need to know, she said urgently, about why so many factions want your research and why the timing of this attack isn't coincidental. What? Your sister's medical condition isn't natural, Marcus. She was poisoned, specifically to motivate you to take this assignment. Someone has been manipulating your life for months, maybe longer. The revelation hit Marcus like a sledgehammer. His sister Sarah, the reason he'd taken this dangerous posting, the reason he'd been working 18-hour days to earn enough for her treatments. If Zira was right, then everything he thought he knew about his situation was wrong. Who? He demanded. Who would do that? I don't know yet, Zira admitted, but I intend to find out. If you'll let me. Another explosion rocked the station and the lights flickered ominously. Whatever was happening in Sector 7 was getting worse and they were running out of time. Marcus looked at Zira, really looked at her, and saw past the deception to something genuine underneath. She'd lied about who she was, but her care for his well-being had been real. Her protection had been real. What do you need me to do? Zira led Marcus through the maintenance tunnels beneath mining station Omega 7, her movement swift and sure despite the darkness. The emergency lighting cast eerie shadows on the tunnel walls, and the sounds of battle echoed from the levels above them. Marcus struggled to keep up, his mind reeling from everything he'd learned in the past hour. Where are we going? He whispered as they paused at a junction. Secure communications array in Section C, Zira replied, checking her stolen weapon. I need to contact my handler and get updated intelligence on who's behind this attack. Marcus watched her work, noting details he'd missed during their months together. The way she moved with lethal efficiency, how she instinctively checked corners and cover points, the subtle scars on her hands that spoke of combat training. How had he been so blind? You're wondering how you missed the signs, Zira said without turning around, as if reading his thoughts, among other things. Yes. Veltar intelligence operatives train for years to perfect cover identities. I've been playing domestic service roles since I was barely an adult. She moved forward again, motioning for him to follow. Your observation skills are actually quite good, Marcus. You noticed inconsistencies, asked questions. Most humans never look beyond the surface. They reached another maintenance hatch and Zira began working on the lock mechanism. As she did, Marcus found himself studying her profile in the dim light. Even knowing the truth, he could barely reconcile this deadly operative with the gentle, caring person who had made him feel less alone in the vast emptiness of space. Zira, when you said the part about caring was real. Not now, Marcus. Her voice was professional, but he caught the slight tremor that suggested the question affected her more than she wanted to admit. The hatch opened with a soft hiss, and they climbed into a small technical chamber filled with communication equipment. Zira immediately began activating systems, her fingers dancing across alien control interfaces with practiced ease. Handler control. This is Agent Nalthek. Priority Alpha communication request. The response came immediately, a voice speaking in rapid Veltar that Marcus couldn't understand. Zira's skin color shifted to deep purple as she listened, and her expression grew increasingly grim. Confirmed. Multiple faction involvement. Requesting immediate extraction authorization for primary asset. More rapid conversation in Veltar, punctuated by what sounded like urgent disagreement. Marcus waited, growing more anxious by the second. Finally, Zira terminated the connection and turned to face him. "The situation is worse than we thought," she said. "The attack on the station is a coordinated effort. The Corvani separatists are providing cover for at least 3 different groups trying to capture you." 3 groups? Human mercenaries working for an unknown corporate entity. Corvani extremists who want to eliminate you as a threat and... She paused, her skin flickering with what Marcus was learning to recognize as anxiety, and a Veltar faction that disagrees with the official partnership proposal. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "So everyone wants me dead or captured except your government?" "Not everyone. The majority of the Galactic Mining Consortium supports the partnership proposal. Several other species have expressed interest in peaceful cooperation, but the opposition is well-funded and highly motivated." A new series of explosions rocked the station, closer this time. Emergency klaxons wailed as atmospheric pressure alarms joined the cacophony. "My handler has authorized immediate extraction," Zira continued. "There's a Veltar stealth ship waiting at docking port 7. We can be off the station in 15 minutes. Marcus stared at her. "And then what? I spend the rest of my life in Veltar protective custody, while various factions try to kill me? The alternative is staying here and definitely being captured or killed by one of those factions. There has to be another option." Zira was quiet for a moment, studying his face. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight of uncertainty he'd never heard before. "There might be, but it would require trusting me completely, and it would mean taking a significant risk." "What kind of risk?" "The kind that could change the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy." Zira moved to another console and began accessing files. "Marcus, your research isn't just about mining efficiency. When applied to certain rare minerals found only in this asteroid belt, your techniques could produce materials that revolutionize space travel." "I don't understand." "Crystalline, matrices enhanced using your algorithms, can store and channel energy in ways we've never seen before. The implications for faster-than-light travel, weapons technology, and defensive systems are staggering." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "You're talking about turning my mining research into military applications. I'm talking about the reality of what your work represents, whether you intended it or not." Zira pulled up holographic displays showing complex molecular structures. "These crystals, enhanced using your methods, could power ships capable of crossing the galaxy in days instead of months. They could create defensive shields that make planets virtually invulnerable, or weapons that could destroy those same planets." "Yes." The simple acknowledgement hung between them like a death sentence. Marcus had gone into xenogeology because he wanted to help humanity expand into space, to find new resources and opportunities for his species. He'd never imagined his work could become a tool for galactic warfare. "The various factions aren't just interested in the economic implications," Zira continued. "They're positioning themselves for a potential arms race that could reshape galactic civilization. And your government wants to partner with humanity to control this technology?" "My government wants to ensure that when this technology inevitably emerges, it's developed by responsible parties who won't use it to destabilize the galaxy." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Responsible parties? Like intelligence operatives who lie about their identities and manipulate people's emotions?" Zira's skin shifted to a pale, almost transparent blue.
"Marcus, I know you have every reason not to trust me.
"But right now, I'm the only person on this station who's committed to keeping you alive without ulterior motives." "How do I know that's true?" "Because," Zira said quietly, "my original orders were to gain your trust, extract your research, and eliminate you as a security risk." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He staggered backward, his hand instinctively reaching for something to steady himself. "What?" "My superiors believed that human control of this technology was too dangerous to allow. The plan was to make your death look accidental after we'd obtained your research." Marcus stared at her in horror. "Then why am I still alive?" Zira's skin had gone completely pale, almost white. "Because somewhere in the past 3 months I stopped following orders and started following my conscience." The admission hung between them, raw and vulnerable. Marcus could see the cost of her confession in every line of her body, the way she held herself as if expecting him to strike her. "You were ordered to kill me." "Yes. And instead you're trying to save me." "Yes." Why? Zira was quiet for so long that Marcus began to think she wouldn't answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Because you treated me like a person, not a service unit. Because you asked if I was feeling all right when you thought I was nervous. Because you offered to be my friend. She looked up at him and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Because in 3 months of watching you, I never saw you do anything cruel or selfish or small. And because the galaxy needs more people like you, not fewer. Another explosion, this one close enough to rattle the communication equipment. Emergency lighting flickered ominously. Zira, if you help me get off this station, if you protect me from all these factions, what happens to you? I become a traitor to my own government. My people will hunt me as aggressively as any other faction. And you're willing to do that? I already have. Marcus looked at this remarkable being who had entered his life as a deception and somehow become the most honest person he'd ever known. The weight of decision pressed down on him like the gravity of a collapsing star. You said there was another option, something that could change the balance of power. Zira nodded. Instead of running, we stay and fight. We expose the truth about what's happening here, reveal the various conspiracies, and force a public debate about how this technology should be developed. That sounds incredibly dangerous. It is, but it's also the only way to ensure that your research benefits everyone, instead of just the faction that manages to capture you. How would we even begin to do something like that? Zira smiled, and for the first time since the attack began, it was the same gentle expression he'd come to treasure during their months together. We start by broadcasting the truth to every ship, station, and colony in this sector. We tell them exactly what's at stake and let the galaxy decide how to proceed. You think people will listen? I think humans have a reputation for doing the impossible when they believe in something. And I think the galaxy is about to learn what happens when humanity decides to fight for what's right. Marcus took a deep breath and made his choice. Then let's show them what we're capable of. The plan was audacious in its simplicity and terrifying in its scope. While combat raged throughout Mining Station Omega-7, Marcus and Zira worked feverishly to compile the most dangerous broadcast in galactic history. They had perhaps an hour before the various factions fighting above them realized that their target had disappeared into the maintenance levels. I need access to your research files, Zira said, her fingers flying across the communication array's interface. All of them, including the classified sections you haven't shared with anyone. Marcus hesitated for only a moment before activating his personal data pad. Everything's here. 3 years of work, including the applications I haven't even tested yet. As he transferred the files, Zira established connections to every major communication network in the sector. Her Veltar intelligence credentials gave her access to channels that ordinary citizens never knew existed. Military frequencies, diplomatic networks, commercial broadcasting systems, even the emergency channels used by deep space exploration vessels. Once we start this broadcast, there's no taking it back, she warned. Every major power in the galaxy will know exactly what we're doing. Good, Marcus replied, surprising himself with his conviction. Maybe it's time they did. The first part of their message was straightforward enough, a detailed explanation of Marcus's research and its potential applications. But as they worked, Marcus began to understand the true scope of what they were revealing. His crystalline enhancement algorithms, when applied to the rare minerals found in this asteroid belt, could indeed revolutionize faster-than-light travel. Ships powered by these enhanced crystals could cross vast distances that currently took months in mere days. The defensive applications are even more significant, Zira explained as she helped him prepare the technical documentation. Shields powered by your enhanced crystals could protect entire planetary surfaces from bombardment. Orbital stations could become virtually impregnable. And the weapons? Zira's expression darkened. A single projectile accelerated through a crystal-enhanced array could shatter a moon. Marcus felt sick. No wonder everyone wants to control this technology, which is exactly why it can't be controlled by any single faction, Zira said firmly. Look at this data differently, Marcus. Yes, your research could create devastating weapons, but it could also make war obsolete. If every inhabited world has impenetrable defenses, if every species has access to rapid transportation and unlimited clean energy, what would be the point of conquest? It was a compelling vision, but Marcus couldn't shake his doubts. You're assuming people would use the technology responsibly. I'm Assuming that transparency and shared development are safer than secret research controlled by unknown parties. Zira finished uploading their preliminary broadcast package, which brings us to the most important part of our message. She activated a new section of the communication array, and suddenly Marcus was looking at intelligence files he definitely wasn't supposed to see. Corporate financial records, government communications, military deployment orders, and enough classified information to start several diplomatic incidents. Zira, where did you get all this? Veltar Intelligence has been monitoring the situation around your research for months. What we've discovered is a conspiracy involving multiple species, governments, and private entities. She highlighted several key documents. The attack on this station wasn't random. It was carefully orchestrated to provide cover for your extraction. Marcus studied the files, his engineering mind automatically cataloging the evidence. This corporate entity, Nexus Extraction Consortium, they're the ones who hired the human mercenaries? Yes, but look deeper. Nexus is funded by a shell company owned by the Corvani separatist movement, which is receiving weapons and intelligence from a rogue faction within the Veltar government. They're all working together? Secretly, yes. Publicly, they're enemies. The plan was to have each group appear to be acting independently, while actually coordinating their efforts. No matter who officially captured you, your research would end up in the same hands. Marcus felt his anger building as he processed the implications. And my sister? Her illness? Zira activated another file, and Marcus saw medical records, financial transactions, and surveillance reports that made his blood boil. Sarah was deliberately exposed to a slow-acting toxin designed to mimic a rare genetic disorder. The treatments keeping her alive are expensive enough to ensure your cooperation, but not severe enough to interfere with your work. They poisoned my sister to manipulate me. Yes. The simple confirmation hit Marcus like a physical blow. For months, he'd been working himself to exhaustion, sacrificing his own comfort and safety to pay for Sarah's medical care. And it had all been an elaborate manipulation designed to control him. How long does she have without treatment? With the antidote, she could be completely healthy within weeks. Without it, Zira's expression was grim. The toxin is designed to be fatal if left untreated for more than 6 months. Where's the antidote? That's part of our broadcast package. Medical synthesis information, treatment protocols, and the identity of every person involved in her poisoning. Marcus stared at the files, overwhelmed by the scope of the conspiracy. How do we know people will believe any of this? These are extraordinary claims. Because we're not just making claims. We're providing verifiable evidence, and we're doing it publicly, where anyone can examine our data. Zira activated the final components of their broadcast system. More importantly, we're offering something no one else is, which is complete transparency, open development, shared benefits. Zira's skin had shifted to a warm golden color that Marcus had never seen before. We're proposing that your research be developed by a consortium of species working together, with all results shared equally among member civilizations. You think that's possible? I think it's the only alternative to Galactic War. An explosion somewhere above them sent debris cascading through the ventilation systems. Emergency lights flickered ominously, and Marcus could hear the distinctive whine of energy weapons getting closer. They've found us, Zira said, checking her captured rifle. How much longer do you need? Marcus looked at the broadcast package they'd assembled. Technical specifications, political revelations, conspiracy evidence, medical information about his sister, and a formal proposal for international cooperation in developing the technology. It represented everything he'd learned and everything he believed about how this crisis should be resolved. 2 more minutes to finalize the transmission protocols. I'll buy you the time. Zira moved to the hatch leading back to the maintenance tunnels, her posture alert and ready. As Marcus worked, he found himself watching her with new understanding. This remarkable person had betrayed her own government, sacrificed her career, and risked her life to do what she believed was right. She'd chosen to protect him not because of orders or manipulation, but because of genuine conviction. Zira, he said without turning from his work, after we send this broadcast, what happens to us? I don't know, she admitted. Best case scenario, we become the most wanted fugitives in several star systems. Worst case scenario, someone decides we're too dangerous to be allowed to live. Any regrets? Only one. Her voice was soft, almost vulnerable. "I wish I'd told you the truth sooner. Why didn't you?" "Because I was afraid you'd hate me for lying. And because I was afraid that if I admitted my feelings were real, I'd lose my objectivity and fail to protect you." Marcus's hands stilled on the controls. "Your feelings?" "Marcus, over the past 3 months, you've been kinder to me than anyone in my entire life. You treated me with respect and genuine care, even when you thought I was just a domestic worker. You made me feel valued as a person, not just a tool." Zira's skin had shifted to that soft blue color again. "I know it started as deception, but somewhere along the way I fell in love with you." The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest and completely unexpected. Marcus turned to face her, seeing past the deadly operative to the vulnerable person underneath. "Zira, I don't expect anything from you," she said quickly. "I know trust has to be earned, and I know I've given you every reason to doubt me. I just wanted you to know that when I said the caring was real, I meant all of it." Marcus stood and walked over to her, noting how she tensed as he approached. Instead of speaking, he gently took her hand in his. Her skin was warm and soft, and he could feel the slight tremor that betrayed her nervousness. "For what it's worth," he said quietly, "I care about you too. The real you, not the cover identity. These past 3 months, you made an impossible situation bearable. You made me feel less alone. And if we survive the next few hours, I'd like to find out who we could be together when we're not running for our lives." Zira's skin brightened to a warm, luminous gold, and she squeezed his hand gently. "We'll survive," she said with quiet conviction. "Humans are remarkably difficult to kill, and I'm very good at my job." "Our job now," Marcus corrected. "We're partners in this." "Partners," Zira agreed and smiled. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the maintenance tunnels. Their pursuers had found the hatch and were working to break through. "Time's up," Zira announced, raising her weapon. Marcus activated the final transmission sequence. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Galactic emergency channels, diplomatic networks, commercial systems, everything. Across the star system, communication arrays began receiving the most important message in human history. In minutes, every government, corporation, and military organization within 50 light-years would know exactly what was happening on mining station Omega-7. "Message transmitted," Marcus announced. "Now what?" "Now we find out what humanity is really capable of." The response to their broadcast was immediate and overwhelming. Within minutes of transmission, Marcus and Zira's communication array lit up with incoming messages from across the sector. Military frequencies crackled with urgent traffic, diplomatic channels buzzed with emergency consultations, and commercial networks carried breaking news reports to every inhabited world within 50 light-years. "Look at this," Marcus said, monitoring the incoming data streams. "The Centauri Trade Alliance is calling for an emergency session. The Andorian Republic is demanding an immediate ceasefire. Even the Corvani home government is denouncing the separatist attack." Zira watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. 3 human defense force ships just dropped out of hyperspace at the system perimeter. The UES Armstrong, the UES Defiant, and... Her skin shifted to surprise patterns. The UES Enterprise. They sent a dreadnought. How did they respond so quickly? They were already en route. Human command must have been monitoring the situation independently. Zira's expression grew thoughtful. "Marcus, I don't think your government was as unaware of your research's implications as they pretended to be." Before Marcus could respond, their jury-rigged communication system chimed with an incoming priority transmission. The holographic display activated, showing the bridge of a human starship. A stern-faced woman in admiral's insignia looked directly at them. "Dr. Chen, Agent Nalthek, this is Admiral Sarah Martinez aboard the UES Armstrong. We've received your broadcast and are moving to secure your position. What is your current status?" Marcus started at the name. "Admiral Martinez? Sarah Martinez? You know her?" Zira asked. "She's my sister." The revelation hit both of them like a thunderbolt. Marcus stared at the holographic display, seeing familiar features in the woman's face despite the years and rank insignia. "Marcus?" Admiral Martinez's expression shifted from professional concern to personal relief. "Thank God you're alive. We've been tracking the conspiracy for weeks, but we couldn't move without solid evidence. Sarah, you're supposed to be dying of a rare genetic disorder," Marcus said, his voice hollow with shock. "I was never sick, Marcus. The medical files were fabricated as part of the conspiracy to control you. I've been working with human intelligence to uncover who was behind the manipulation. Admiral Martinez's expression hardened. When we discovered the plot to assassinate you after extracting your research, I convinced command to authorize a rescue operation. Marcus sank into a chair, overwhelmed. So the whole reason I took this assignment was based on a lie designed to put you exactly where the conspirators wanted you. Sarah's voice carried a mix of anger and regret. I'm sorry, Marcus. We couldn't risk revealing the truth until we understood the full scope of the threat. Zira moved closer to Marcus, her hand resting protectively on his shoulder. Admiral, what's the current tactical situation? Fluid but improving. The Corvani home fleet has arrived and is engaging their own separatist forces. The Veltar government has disavowed the rogue faction and is cooperating with our investigation. Most importantly, your broadcast has shifted public opinion decisively in favor of international cooperation. What about the corporate entities behind the conspiracy? Admiral Martinez smiled grimly. Nexus Extraction Consortium's assets are being frozen by 17 different governments as we speak. Their shell companies are being exposed, their operatives are being arrested, and their financial networks are collapsing. Marcus looked up at Zira. It's working. The transparency actually worked. Don't celebrate yet, Admiral Martinez warned. There are still hostile forces on your station, and some of them would rather see you dead than allow your research to be developed cooperatively. As if summoned by her words, the hatch leading to the communication chamber exploded inward. Armed figures in advanced combat armor poured through the opening, their weapons already firing. Zira reacted instantly, pulling Marcus behind cover while returning fire with precise, devastating accuracy. Human mercenaries, she reported tersely. Corporate security, probably Nexus's last desperate gambit. Dr. Chen, the lead attacker called out. Surrender yourself and your research and the Veltar dies quickly. Resist and we make this painful for both of you. Counter-proposal, Marcus called back. You surrender to the Human Defense Force ships currently boarding this station, and maybe you live to see trial. The mercenary leader laughed harshly. Those ships are 40 minutes away from reaching this section. You'll both be dead long before then. Zira's skin had shifted to deep combat patterns Marcus had never seen before. Marcus, can you access the station's maintenance systems from here? Yes, why? I need you to trigger an emergency decompression in the corridor outside this chamber. Just for 30 seconds, Marcus stared at her. That will kill anyone not wearing full environmental gear. Exactly. Marcus hesitated for only a moment before activating the station's emergency controls. Warning klaxons sounded as atmospheric systems began cycling down in the targeted section. The attacking mercenaries had perhaps 10 seconds to realize what was happening before the corridor became a vacuum. The sounds of combat ceased abruptly. When Marcus restored atmosphere to the corridor, the silence was complete. Hostile forces neutralized, Zira reported to Admiral Martinez, who had maintained the communication link throughout the firefight. Impressive work, Agent Naltek. You'll be pleased to know that similar operations across the station have eliminated most of the remaining threats. We should have the facility secure within the hour. Marcus slumped against the communication console, exhaustion finally catching up with him. What happens now? Now we begin the real work, Admiral Martinez replied. Your broadcast has created an unprecedented opportunity for cooperation, but it will take careful diplomacy to turn that opportunity into reality. The technology will be developed by an international consortium, just as you proposed. 7 species have already committed to participation, with more expected to join once formal agreements are established. Sarah's expression softened. You did something remarkable here, Marcus. You've potentially prevented a galactic war. Zira moved to stand beside Marcus, her presence a comforting anchor in the chaos of recent events. Admiral, what's the status of Agent Nalthek's position with Veltar intelligence? Complicated, Admiral Martinez admitted. Officially, she's a rogue agent who betrayed her government. Unofficially, her actions have been praised by the moderate faction currently gaining power in the Veltar hierarchy. I suspect she'll be quietly rehabilitated within the next few months. And until then, she's welcome to remain under human protection as a diplomatic consultant. Her expertise will be valuable in the coming negotiations. Marcus looked at Zira, seeing hope flickering in her luminous features. Would you want that? To stay and help with the consortium development? Only if you want me to stay. she replied softly. I do. We started this together, and I'd like to finish it the same way. Admiral Martinez watched their interaction with obvious amusement. I take it there have been some personal developments alongside the political ones? Marcus felt heat rising in his cheeks. Sarah, I'm happy for you, Marcus. After everything you've been through, you deserve some good in your life. Admiral Martinez checked something off screen. We'll be docking within the hour to provide proper escort off the station. In the meantime, try not to start any more galactic incidents. The communication ended, leaving Marcus and Zira alone in the damaged chamber. Around them, the station systems hummed with returning normalcy as repair crews began their work. So, Marcus said eventually, when this is all over, when the consortium is established and the technology is being developed safely, what do you want to do? Zira considered the question seriously. I've spent my entire adult life as an intelligence operative, playing roles and hiding who I really am. For the first time, I'd like to try just being myself. And who is that? I'm still figuring it out, but I know I want to keep learning about human culture, keep trying to understand what makes your species so remarkably stubborn and optimistic and brave. She smiled, and I want to do that with someone who sees me as more than just my cover identity. Marcus reached for her hand again, marveling at how natural the gesture felt. I think that can be arranged. As they waited for rescue, Marcus reflected on everything that had happened. He'd come to this station as a simple mining engineer, working to save a sister who was never in danger from an illness that never existed. He'd been manipulated, lied to, and nearly killed by forces he never knew existed. But he'd also found something he'd never expected. A partner who challenged him to be better than he thought possible. And the opportunity to make a real difference in the galaxy. The sound of docking clamps engaging echoed through the station as human Defense Force ships arrived to secure their position. Soon, Marcus would be reunited with his sister, would begin the complex work of establishing the international consortium, and would help guide the development of technology that could reshape galactic civilization. But for now, he was content to sit in a damaged communication chamber with a remarkable alien woman who had taught him that sometimes the most important truths came disguised as lies, and that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their military, but their cap. 6 months after the incident at Mining Station Omega-7, the Cooperative Development Facility, orbiting Kepler 442b, hummed with activity that would have been unimaginable just a year before. Representatives from 12 different species worked side by side in laboratories, workshops, and meeting chambers, developing technology that promised to revolutionize galactic civilization. Marcus stood in the central observation deck, watching teams of humans, Veltar, Andorians, and others collaborate on projects that would have been impossible without the transparency initiated by their desperate broadcast. The sight never failed to amaze him. The first prototype ships are ahead of schedule, Zira reported, joining him at the viewing window. She wore the blue and silver uniform of the consortium's diplomatic corps, a position that had been created specifically to accommodate her unique expertise. Dr. Yarnell's team believes they'll be ready for initial testing within the month. Marcus nodded, watching a mixed species engineering team work on crystalline matrix installations. Any word from the Corvani delegation about the defensive applications? They're cautiously optimistic. The shield generators using your enhanced crystals have exceeded all projected capabilities in simulation. Zira's skin shifted to pleased patterns. More importantly, they're requesting additional Corvani scientists be assigned to the project. That's a good sign. What about the political situation? Stable and improving. The conspiracy trials concluded last week with convictions across 7 star systems. Nexus Extraction Consortium has been completely dismantled, and most of their assets have been distributed to infrastructure development projects. Marcus smiled at that news. It seemed fitting that the resources accumulated through conspiracy and manipulation would be used to build better futures for ordinary people across the galaxy. And personally? He asked, studying Zira's expression. How are you adapting to life as a legitimate diplomat instead of a deep cover operative? It's strange, she admitted. I keep expecting someone to expose my identity or question my loyalties. But gradually I'm learning to trust that I'm valued for who I actually am, not the role I'm playing. Their conversation was interrupted by Admiral Martinez's voice over the facility's communication system. Dr. Chen, Agent Naltheg, please report to Conference Room Alpha. Priority consultation requested. Marcus and Zira exchanged glances. Priority consultations usually meant either breakthrough developments or significant problems. They made their way through corridors that showcased the facility's international character, with architectural elements and aesthetic choices representing each member species. Conference Room Alpha housed the facility's senior leadership. Admiral Martinez representing human interests, Feltar Director Colvin, Andorian Science Minister Tholan, and several other officials Marcus had come to respect over the past months. We've received intelligence that requires immediate discussion, Admiral Martinez announced without preamble. It appears that not all the conspirators were captured during the original investigation. Director Colvin activated a holographic display showing star charts and intelligence summaries. A previously unknown faction has been observed attempting to acquire enhanced crystals through black market channels. Their technological capabilities suggest significant resources and advanced knowledge of Dr. Chen's research. Who are they? Marcus asked. That's the concerning part, Science Minister Tholan replied. Preliminary analysis suggests they're not affiliated with any known government or corporation. They appear to be an entirely independent organization with unclear motivations. Zira studied the intelligence reports, her expression growing increasingly troubled. These acquisition patterns don't match any faction we've encountered before. They're not trying to monopolize the technology or prevent its development. They're specifically seeking combat applications. Weapons, Marcus said flatly. Advanced weapons, based on their shopping list. They're trying to build something significantly more destructive than anything we've developed in the consortium. Admiral Martinez highlighted specific items in the intelligence summary. They've attempted to acquire high-grade crystal matrices, exotic matter containment systems, and gravitational field generators. Marcus felt his blood chill. Those components could be used to build planet killers. Our assessment as well, Director Colvin confirmed. A weapon capable of destabilizing stellar objects or destroying planetary bodies entirely. We need to stop them, Zira said immediately. Whatever their goals, that level of destructive capability in unknown hands represents an unacceptable threat. Science Minister Tholan's antennae twitched with concern. The difficulty is that we don't know where they are or how to contact them. They operate through intermediaries and shell organizations that make our previous conspirators look transparent by comparison. What about their technology? Marcus asked. If they're building weapons based on my research, they must be leaving traces. Energy signatures, resource consumption patterns, manufacturing byproducts. Admiral Martinez smiled grimly. We were hoping you'd say that. We need you and Agent Nalthek to lead a joint investigation team. Your technical expertise combined with her intelligence background might be the only combination capable of tracking these people down. Marcus looked at Zira, seeing his own concerns reflected in her expression. They'd barely finished dealing with the last conspiracy, and now they were being asked to hunt down an even more dangerous threat. What resources would we have? Zira asked practically. Full consortium support, Director Colvin replied. Intelligence assets from all member species, unrestricted access to our research facilities, and authorization to take whatever actions you deem necessary, including military support if required. The Consortium Council has authorized the use of force to prevent the completion of planet-killing weapons, Admiral Martinez confirmed. This situation has been classified as a clear and present danger to galactic security. Marcus studied the intelligence summaries, his engineering mind automatically analyzing the technical challenges involved in the weapons development. Based on these components, they'll need specific manufacturing facilities and enormous amounts of energy. That should limit their possible locations significantly. Our thoughts exactly, Science Minister Tholan agreed, but we need experts who understand both the technology and the operational security challenges involved in tracking them down. How long do we have? Zira asked, unknown. But given the sophistication of their operations, we estimate they've been working on this project for at least as long as the consortium has existed. Director Colvin's expression was grim. They could be weeks or months away from completion. Marcus made his decision quickly. We'll do it. But I want full disclosure this time. No hidden agendas, no secret manipulations, no surprises that turn our own investigation against us. Agreed, Admiral Martinez said immediately. You'll have complete operational autonomy and regular briefings with consortium leadership. No secret orders, no conflicting directives. Zira nodded her acceptance as well. When do we start? Immediately. We've prepared a ship equipped with the most advanced scanning and analysis equipment available. Your first destination is the Vega system, where our intelligence suggests several suspicious transactions have taken place. As the meeting concluded, and they were provided with detailed briefing materials, Marcus found himself reflecting on how much his life had changed since that first emergency. Klaxon on mining station Omega-7, he'd gone from a simple mining engineer to one of the most influential figures in galactic politics, and somehow acquired a partner who made even the most dangerous situations seem manageable. Second thoughts? Zira asked as they walked toward the docking bays where their ship waited. About the mission? No, about us taking on another galaxy-threatening conspiracy? Marcus considered the question seriously. Maybe a few, but someone has to do it, and we seem to be surprisingly good at this sort of thing. Surprisingly good at uncovering massive conspiracies and preventing galactic wars? When you put it like that, it sounds almost routine. Zira laughed, a sound that still made Marcus's heart skip, despite the months they'd been together. I love your optimism. Most species would be traumatized by everything we've been through. Most species didn't evolve on a planet where persistence and stubbornness were survival traits, Marcus replied. Besides, we're not doing this alone anymore. We have the entire consortium supporting us. Their ship was a marvel of international cooperation, incorporating design elements and technologies from every member species. The UES Harmony represented everything the conspiracy had tried to prevent. Proof that different civilizations could work together to create something better than any of them could achieve alone. Ready to save the galaxy again? Marcus asked as they boarded. With you? Always, Zira replied. Though I'm starting to think we should consider a quieter line of work once this is over. Such as? I was thinking we could try running a small mining operation somewhere peaceful. Just the two of us, some basic equipment, and no galactic conspiracies for light years in any direction. Marcus smiled at the image. That sounds perfect. Right after we prevent someone from building weapons capable of destroying entire star systems. Right after that, Zira agreed. As the UES Harmony. Harmony prepared for departure, Marcus looked back at the cooperative development facility and felt a surge of pride. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever new threats they would face, they were no longer fighting as individuals against overwhelming odds. They were part of something larger now, something that proved the galaxy's civilizations could choose cooperation over conflict. The hunt for the mysterious weapon builders would be dangerous, possibly more dangerous than anything they'd faced before. But for the first time since this all began, Marcus felt genuinely confident in their chances. After all, they'd already changed the galaxy once. How hard could it be to do it again? The revelation came not through careful investigation or brilliant deduction, but through a simple mistake that changed everything. 3 weeks into their hunt for the mysterious weapon builders, Marcus and Zira had tracked their quarry to an abandoned research facility in the Proxima Centauri system. What they found there left them both speechless. Marcus, Zira whispered, her skin shifting through patterns of shock and disbelief. These aren't weapons. They stood in the central laboratory of the facility, surrounded by massive crystalline structures that hummed with barely contained energy. The equipment was certainly based on Marcus's research, but the configuration was unlike anything either of them had expected. If they're not weapons, what are they? Marcus asked, studying the technical displays surrounding the crystal matrices. Zira was examining a series of holographic projections that filled the air above them. I think they're terraforming devices. Massive ones, capable of restructuring entire planetary atmospheres in months instead of centuries. Marcus moved to join her, his engineering background allowing him to quickly parse the technical specifications. This is incredible. These systems could transform barren worlds into garden planets. They could reverse ecological damage, restore dead atmospheres, even stabilize unstable stars. But why the secrecy? Why the black market acquisitions and hidden facilities? Zira's confusion was evident in her fluctuating skin patterns. This technology could be the greatest humanitarian breakthrough in galactic history. Their questions were answered by a voice from the laboratory's entrance. Because sometimes the greatest gifts must be given in secret, or they'll be corrupted by those who would use them for personal gain. Marcus and Zira spun around to see a figure in environmental gear approaching them. As the person removed their helmet, both investigators gasped in recognition. Dr. Elena Vasquez. Marcus breathed. You're supposed to be dead. Dr. Vasquez smiled sadly. She'd been Marcus's mentor during his graduate studies. A brilliant xenogeologist who had disappeared 3 years earlier during a research expedition in unexplored space. Her death had been confirmed by multiple sources and had devastated the scientific community. Reports of my death were deliberately fabricated, she said, moving to stand beside one of the massive crystal arrays. It was the only way to escape the attention of those who would have prevented this work. Elena, what's going on? Who are you working with? Marcus stepped closer, noting that his former mentor looked older and more tired than her years should account for. The same people who have been quietly preventing galactic wars for centuries, Marcus. A coalition of scientists, philosophers, and visionaries from dozens of species who believe that some technologies are too important to be left to governments and corporations. Zira's hand moved instinctively toward her sidearm. You're describing a shadow organization operating outside any legal authority. We're describing a group of people who have watched civilizations destroy themselves with advanced technology and decided to take a different approach. Dr. Vasquez replied calmly. We don't seek to control or profit. We develop beneficial technologies in secret and then find ways to introduce them gradually, safely, by stealing components and operating illegal facilities, by working outside systems that have repeatedly proven they cannot be trusted with transformative technologies. Dr. Vasquez activated a holographic display showing historical data. In the past 1,000 years, 47 different species have developed faster than light travel. 22 of them used it primarily for conquest. 31 species have developed planet-scale energy systems. 15 used them to build weapons that destroyed their own worlds. Marcus studied the data, recognizing the truth in what she was saying even as he struggled with the implications. So you decided to take matters into your own hands? We decided to try a different approach. Instead of announcing revolutionary technologies and watching them be weaponized, we develop them quietly and then find ways to make them available when civilizations are ready. Who decides when they're ready? Zira demanded. Time and careful observation, Dr. Vasquez replied. Your consortium is actually a perfect example. The crisis at mining station Omega 7 forced different species to cooperate in ways they never had before. The transparency you achieved created exactly the kind of international framework needed to safely develop advanced technologies. Marcus felt pieces clicking into place. You knew about the conspiracy. You could have stopped it, but you let it happen because you needed the crisis to create the consortium. We provided anonymous intelligence that helped human and Veltar authorities track some of the conspirators. But yes, we allowed events to unfold because the outcome was more important than preventing the immediate danger. Dr. Vasquez's expression showed genuine regret. People died, Marcus. Good people who didn't deserve to be caught up in this. But thousands of worlds will live because of what you accomplished. Zira's skin had shifted to deep red patterns that Marcus recognized as anger. You manipulated us. Everything we went through, everything we suffered was part of your grand plan. No. Dr. Vasquez said firmly. Your choices were your own. Your courage, your integrity, your decision to broadcast the truth instead of seeking personal safety. None of that was manipulation. We simply created circumstances where those choices would matter. And now? Marcus asked. What's your plan for these terraforming systems? We want to give them to your consortium. Freely, completely, with no strings attached. Dr. Vasquez gestured toward the crystal arrays. But we needed to complete the development first to ensure the technology would be ready for immediate deployment. Why not work with us openly? Because open development would take decades and face political opposition from dozens of interest groups. Hidden development allowed us to solve the technical challenges in months. Dr. Vasquez smiled. Besides, we knew you'd find us eventually. Your reputation for uncovering conspiracies is becoming legendary. Marcus and Zira exchanged glances, communicating volumes in a single look. The situation was simultaneously frustrating and remarkable. They'd been chasing what they thought were weapon builders, only to discover philanthropic conspirators developing humanitarian technology. How many worlds could this technology restore? Marcus asked. Conservative estimates suggest we could terraform 200 dead worlds and repair ecological damage on 500 more within the next century, Dr. Vasquez replied. Unlimited clean energy, perfect atmospheric control, soil regeneration, even climate stabilization for unstable planets. And you're willing to simply give this away? Knowledge belongs to all sentient beings, Marcus. Hoarding it serves no one. Dr. Vasquez moved to a control console and began activating transfer protocols. Everything we've learned, every technical specification, every manufacturing process, it's all being transmitted to your consortium facility right now. Zira checked her communication device as priority alerts began cascading in. The consortium leadership is requesting immediate consultation. They're receiving massive data transfers from unknown sources. Unknown sources who are about to become very known, Marcus said, making a decision. Elena, you and your people need to come forward. Work with the consortium openly instead of hiding in shadows. That would mean exposing centuries of careful work, revealing operations across dozens of star systems. Dr. Vasquez hesitated. Many of our people have spent lifetimes maintaining cover identities. And many of them are probably tired of living lies, Zira said gently. I know something about the cost of deception, even when it's for good reasons. Dr. Vasquez was quiet for a long moment, studying their faces. You really believe the consortium can be trusted with unlimited technological advancement? I believe transparency and cooperation are safer than secrecy and manipulation, no matter how benevolent the intentions, Marcus replied. Besides, you've already proven the technology works. Now let's prove that civilizations can work together to use it responsibly. Very well. Dr. Vasquez activated additional communication systems. All stations, this is Director Vasquez. Initiate Protocol 7, full disclosure to consortium authorities. As acknowledgments came in from hidden facilities across the galaxy, Marcus realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. A shadow organization that had operated in secret for centuries was voluntarily revealing itself and sharing everything it had learned. How many people are involved in your organization? Zira asked. Approximately 15,000 active operatives across 47 star systems, Dr. Vasquez replied. Scientists, engineers, philosophers, and support personnel from every major species and most minor ones. They're all willing to give up their secrecy? They're all tired of hiding, Dr. Vasquez said simply. Your example at Mining Station Omega-7 proved that open cooperation is possible. Many of our people have been hoping for an opportunity to work in the light instead of shadows. Marcus's communication device chimed with an incoming priority transmission from Admiral Martinez. Dr. Chen, Agent Nalthek, what is your status? We're receiving unprecedented technical data transfers and communication requests from unknown sources. Admiral, we've made contact with the organization we've been tracking, Marcus reported. It turns out they're not weapon builders. They're humanity.